Well, are we about ready?
Here we go. Hello again from my front porch and Merry Christmas from, well, I was going to say from my parents' house. It is my parents' house. It actually was my house too for a while because I think when I was about eight, I think we moved here into this house and then until I went to college. And then went off on my own stuff. Hey, Chester, you ready to come get in the video now? Yeah, we can see you. You're right there. Look the other way. You can see.
Yeah. See?
He's looking at me
Look
like
that way
he's like,
front.
how am I supposed to rest with you yapping here? I'm gonna just go lay somewhere else. There you go. Yeah, just lay down there on the floor. Oh, I think we can still see you just a little bit. All right. But anyway, the reason that I'm spending Christmas with my parents, and then tomorrow is my dad's birthday as well. 85 years old. Wow. Who'd have thunk it?
Yeah, I know. I'm an antique.
Well, I will say this. I believe we've established that you are the oldest living man of your family.
Yep.
Because and having done genealogy stuff, I know that the men of your family didn't always live this long. In fact, none of them have lived this long.
Just my grandpa.
No. Oh, did he live long?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He came back from California.
Mm-hmm.
He went out there on vacation. He was 97.
Yeah.
Rode bus out there and came back.
Well, see,
of course, he died that night in bed.
well, but he had an adventure at the very end. So,
Our
all right.
women in our family lived longer.
Yeah. Well, and your family, and actually in both families, the women on both sides lived longer.
His mom lived to 92.
Yeah, and your mom lived a long
96.
time too. Yeah, into their 90s. That's very impressive. But so I'm here with them for this time frame for us to enjoy the holiday together. But we were actually talking about the holidays, and in fact, you may be able to see the little Christmas tree right there in the front. That little Christmas tree, I actually have it on display at my home. I have this little glass cabinet full of family-related items. I call myself the curator of the family museum. And so I've got all these things there. But this little unassuming Christmas tree is not just an old antique-y looking interesting thing. This actually was my mom and dad's very first Christmas tree.
Mm-hmm. And I about got crowned with it when I come home with it.
So you were living in Jefferson,
Yep.
a little upstairs apartment and a duplex, a house thing where the apartment was upstairs. And didn't have a lot of space, but so you didn't have a lot of room for now you growing up, your family did Christmas up big, and in fact I know this because I remember when I came along and we would go to their place for Christmas, they were still doing it up big, and so that was and so that was what you came from, and then your new husband comes home and this is the tree he brings home.
She sent me uptown to find a Christmas tree. I want to decorate a Christmas tree. I go uptown, I see that one. Hey, that's a bargain. It's already decorated and everything. See?
I gotta make sure y'all see it really well here. See?
Of course, it was a lot brighter than it is now, but gee, that was about. When was that? We figured
1967.
that? Okay, yeah, 1967.
That's a long time ago.
And I saw I was so proud I brought it home, and hey, here's a Christmas tree. And she looked at that and said, "What did you get that little thing for? I'm in a tree." She wanted a tree. I was just so proud of that little tree.
Yeah, and you probably got it for quite a bargain too.
Yeah, I bet.
She was expecting me to bring home one to decorate, a big tree. And
not a real big tree, but at least a bigger one than that.
Something a little more festive.
Yep.
Now, and growing up, of course, we had one of those trees that you had to build. You put the wooden pole together, and then you had all the different sized branches to build it out, and they all had little color on the tips of them, and you had to bundle them together every year and pack them in the right way and all that stuff, and
put them all together the same colors.
And we would put it together out on the front porch, and it was a big deal to do that, and then all the decorations. But Dad, you were talking about how when you were growing up, that when times were tight and the war was on, and it wasn't like you go to out, there was no Walmart to go to and have aisles of decorations and all that stuff. So what was it you said your family did sometimes for Christmas tree?
It was just 3 of us. I was the only child, so Dad and I, we'd bundle up and we'd go down the pasture and go down and we'd get in the where like the walnut had these little walnut or plum bushes, little plum bushes. We had big walnut trees too, but we had all these plum bushes, and we'd get a couple of 3 of them old plum bushes. They wouldn't have plums on them because it'd be in the winter, snow. We'd take them home and turn them and tie the trunks of them together and make a tree. That'd make a fairly good shaped tree, and then I know Mom would pop a bunch of popcorn. Dad, he'd help a little bit on that, but mostly Mom did most of that. And then she'd work and run a string through them on a big old needle through the kernels to hold it together. She'd sit in that chair and put that corn kernels on that string, and that was the string on the tree instead of,
tinsel and stuff.
We just couldn't afford to buy anything. You see, this was I was born in 1939. The war came on, you see, in 1940.
Yeah, 1941 we entered the war.
So you couldn't get anything hard in town if you did go to town, and when you bought anything, groceries or like that, my gosh, a dime would buy a loaf of bread, or you could buy a lot of things for it. If you had the dime, but money was short. Everything was going for the war effort.
Yeah.
And so gasoline, like 23 cents a gallon. But you could only buy a couple gallon a week.
Yeah.
That's all they'd let you buy, put in your car.
So it's rationing. Yeah.
You had a sticker that the government give you. You signed up for. You put that on the windshield, A, B, C, and all that.
Yeah.
And that was whatever you was allowed to have a week for gas. And you go into the gas station, and man, he'd look at the windshield, and then he'd look at his record and say, well, you just got gas the other day. You can't get any more now. Or, well, you got gas the other day. Now you can't get any more for a while. But
so that kind of that was the environment that obviously if they're doing that with gas, there's not a priority on having cute things to hang on Christmas trees.
Right, you see, and so we that was the kind of what it was, and we didn't have anything. And for instance, like I remember I wanted one of them old marks. That was made out of steel back then, tin steel, wind-up train, run around on the track, you know. Of course, it couldn't have electric because we lived in the country and didn't even have electricity. So it was either by a wind-up mechanical train, or they did have some you could buy, the rich people get, that you put batteries in on that. But I would have been happy with a wind-up one. But Christmas come, and Santa Claus, he didn't bring me the train. What he brought me was a red caboose wrapped up off of the back of it, and a note on it said, "I'm sorry, but you'll have to wait till next year for the rest of the train."
So Santa gave you a down payment.
He said, I remember they read that to me, and it said, that's what it said. Santa said, "I'm sorry, but I couldn't get you the whole train this year. You'll have to wait till next year." We had some good times, I'll tell you. Mom fix Christmas dinner. And what her specialty was that she liked to make, and it was good. She'd go to the grocery store and she'd buy a half a goose and maybe like a half a small turkey or just a big chicken.
Mm-hmm.
And the fellow at the meat counter, I remember, would saw it right down the middle, split the critters right down the middle, and she'd cook them together.
Huh.
And she said the fat, the goose would be so greasy.
Yeah.
Their nose would be so greasy,
Yeah.
and the other one was dry.
Uh-huh.
And they would, in the roaster oven, in
They
the
take care
oven,
of each other.
yeah, they'd mix
That's
together,
smart.
and boy, that would really be good. She'd make dressing, and put it in. That's what we usually always had. And other things, but my mother was a little old German gal, and she was a darn good
Her name
cook.
was Hilda.
Hilda. Yeah, Hilda Heater was her maiden name.
That's the only thing I ever think of. When I hear Gabriel Heater, I think...
I always wished that I would have had her teach me German, because she could just talk German just as fluently as could be. And we used to have I don't know if you remember or not, but called Omar bread fellows. They drove these little red and white little panel trucks around the country, and it was an Omar bakery, and they'd have fresh stuff in there packaged up like you'd buy off the shelf in the store. But this fellow would come around a couple times a week, and he'd have a bunch of that stuff, and he'd take orders for the next week too. But he'd have a lot of that good packaged stuff on his truck, and you could buy it from him. But this fellow came from Carroll down. We lived down by Coon Rapids, and he'd come down there with his little truck around and stop. And my mom would buy a lot of stuff from him. He spoke English, of course, but he could also speak German real good. And my dad would get so disgusted because he'd come in the kitchen, stand there, and they'd just jabber away about stuff in German. And Dad'd say, I don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Are you talking about me again?
Yeah.
Now, you might like this. I learned for the Christmas program we did at the church in Ames long ago, I played a character who was supposed to be German in the play, and I had to sing a verse of Stille Nacht, which is Silent Night in German. Now, I don't know German, but I learned it by sound. I listened to a recording of somebody singing it, and so then I had to perform it, and I felt pretty confident about what I thought. That sounds pretty close. The first night we were going to do the show, one of the other guys who was you remember the Vulgars, George and Pat Vulgar, where George Vulgar's mom was going to be there, and she was a German teacher. She taught people to do German. And so the night we're going to do the very first time of this, he says to me, my mom is here and she's so excited that you're doing that song in German. She doesn't get to hear it. And then I felt a lot of pressure because somebody who actually knew German.
She didn't know if he was right or wrong. Yeah.
I was feeling really confident until. But so here, I remember it. You ready? You see if any of this sounds familiar to you from you listening to your mom. You ready? Stille Nacht, heilige Nacht, alle schlaft, einsam wacht, nur das Trate hack heiligem Hart, o dem Naben mit lokigem Hart, schlaft in himmlischer Ruhe, schlaft in himmlischer Ruhe.
I faintly remember that I was just little.
So as far as you know, that sounds okay.
We went to a German Lutheran church.
Oh yeah.
And at Christmas time, I'm sure that they sing that song, of course. But that's been 85 years ago.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, originally the song, I mean, it was written in what is now Austria. So it would have been done in German originally. That was the original language of the song. But
when I went to work at the nursing home, they had a lot of people that spoke German, and this one had lost her leg, and you knew when she was mad, the tone of her when she said something in German.
So when she stopped talking English and switched to German, you knew she was angry.
She just spoke German all the time.
Oh.
Now, and this guy spoke German, and I said, "What do you saying in English?"
Uh-huh.
And he'd tell me.
So, Mom, do you have any? We were talking about this before, but and as we've been talking, have you thought of any Christmas memories from your family? Because now, unlike Dad, who was an only child, so it was like you said, just three of you, you and your mom and dad. That was it. You came from a much bigger family.
Yep.
How many were there of you kids?
6.
6 altogether. And you originally were not the oldest. You had your brother Jerry, who was the oldest, but then unfortunately he passed away in '62, I believe.
He was
car
20
accident.
years old.
Yeah. But then you became the oldest of the kids. And so then you had all these siblings. You had your mom, and what I was saying before, I remember going over to Grandma and Grandpa Richardson's house for Christmas stuff, and Grandma Richardson, she was just phenomenal cook. I mean, she could. I joke, only half joke, that it seemed like no matter when we showed up at their house, even if it looked like the kitchen was mostly bare, she could still fill a table with food. I don't know how she did it. I remember being there also, staying with them.
Remember the player piano?
Oh yeah.
And that chest that I thought was just for clothes and stuff. Your dad had little chickens in it, chickies in it. Opened up the doors and little chickies were getting born in there.
Yeah. Well, because both of you grew up out in the country on farmsteads.
Yep.
Now, your family actually, Dad, your family actually did some of the farming. Did the hay baling and all that kind of stuff.
His grandpa and grandma did.
Yeah. Well, because somewhere I've got the bell, the cowbell that hung out on the porch that your mom would probably in the same cabinet where I keep the tree that your mom would ring to call people for lunch.
Yeah, she'd come out on the front porch and stand there and ring that, come in for dinner, supper, something like that.
But now your family didn't do the farming of the farmstead. They just lived in the farmstead area, but your dad used up every square inch of the buildings for his.
My dad helped though do the farming.
Well, he helped do, and he also drove a grain truck.
Yep.
For the local.
That's how he got his hand hurt.
Yeah, that's true. Got his hand caught in a corn picker, didn't he?
Yep.
And he lost 2 fingers, 3
Three.
3 fingers. Yeah.
Thumb and 2 fingers. These 3 right here.
Yeah. Now that had happened long before I met him, so I only knew him with this odd stub hand thing, but it didn't slow him down at all.
He had a lot of strength in there. He had a lot of strength in that.
Seriously, he was missing 3 fingers on his hand. It's right hand, right?
Yep.
Yeah, he's missing 3 fingers on his right hand, and you wouldn't know it. I mean, it did not slow him down at all.
And he had that bad ankle.
Oh, I forgot about the bad ankle.
Fell out of the tree. He was trying to dip on the twig, and he fell off trying to get that squirrel.
But boy, he could get around.
Man, he could get around, and it did not slow him down with doing car repairs or I would say junk collecting, but that's kind of mean because it wasn't that he was collecting junk. He was just gathering a whole bunch of stuff that someday I might need.
He had this whole bus full of stuff
that
he knew what it was.
Yeah.
I'd like to know who got that.
Yeah, he had that old school bus that was his workshop that was full of.
He knew what everything in there was, just like him.
It was full of all of a whole bunch of his supplies and wasps. But then he also had other buildings there that he did stuff in, and your brothers made sure he had a healthy supply of wrecked cars.
Yeah.
But still, so I remember going to Grandma and Grandpa Richardson's for Christmas, going into New Year, and I remember actually just sometimes staying with them. That you guys just left me there and you went off and did your own thing. but that's okay because I remember being there and we would watch some Christmas shows, but Grandma was always having me do Christmas activities. And it was like drawing all these pictures and doing these things. And at the time, as a kid, I just thought it was fun. In hindsight, I look back and the paper that she was giving me, your dad had those big calendars, the desk calendars, and she would just take those and flip them over. And the blank backside, here you go, Paul, draw this, draw. And I would just go crazy doing that. It's good memories.
Went to sale barn with him.
Oh, yeah. But so now, let's talk about back our family for Christmas stuff. Because there's one year, I remember, in this house here, must have been shortly after we moved on, but we used to set up the tree out in the front porch and have it all lit up and decorated and everything. And there was one year, I remember Santa visiting our house. But I remember that we were all back in the little kitchen area, and supposedly we heard something on the roof. And you were like, oh, well, we better go outside and look and see. And so we went out the back door. There was snow on the ground. We went out the back door. You took the kids out the back door, and it looked like there were some marks in the snow. And you said, oh, that looks like that was Santa's reindeer.
They came right up across the roof.
Yeah, that's what we saw. Yeah. And then, well, we better go back out and look at the tree and see. And we come back through the house, and sure enough, there's all these gifts under the tree that weren't there before. And it was like, oh, Santa was here. Now, I still don't know how you guys pulled that off. But
I don't either, and I don't know how in the hell them tracks got up on the roof either.
It was a Christmas miracle.
Yes, it was.
Because that was it was kind of, but again, we were in the kitchen and we did hear something above us, and so we went outside because Dad was well, I'm not sure what that is out there, and the kids were all like, oh, maybe it's Santa. We should go outside and look. And so we did, and there were tracks. They were on the ground, but then they were up on the roof.
I don't remember how that ever happened.
So you know what's the line from Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer? Where it says, now you might say there's no such thing as Santa, but as for me and my parents, we know better.
Well, it was strange. They was there.
They were there.
How in the hell they got up across the top of the roof, I don't know. And then they just vanished.
Yep.
Like it took off.
So
I don't know.
The great Christmas mystery of whatever year that was, because I was young at the time. But yeah, that was we had a lot of really great memories. I also remember. I don't remember. I've seen the picture from when we lived at the other house down on Northwest Street when you were still a police officer. And there's pictures of me wearing your police hat and stuff, standing in front of the Christmas tree and everything. And based on some of the toys that I got, I must have been going through a music stage.
Yes, you were.
Because there's one really great picture.
Oh, you wanted to play a guitar.
Well, there's one really great picture actually of my dad and I. He's sitting in a chair and I'm down on the floor and I'm banging on a drum and he's got a little plastic toy guitar and he's like we're practicing, our band. And I've always assumed those were Christmas presents probably is what we were doing with that stuff at that point too. But so some really great Christmas memories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But here in the last several years, of course, as the family has grown and everybody's off doing their own thing, it makes it harder for us to get. We did the Thanksgiving thing where we were mostly all together. Some of us weren't able to be there, but almost the whole extended family and everyone was there. But it's too big for us to do that twice in 1 month. And so we're not doing that right now, but I am thrilled that, since I didn't have anybody to be spending Christmas with, and nobody was spending Christmas with Mom and Dad, and Dad wasn't going on his trip to California yet, like his grandfather.
Yeah, that was the strangest thing. That old boy came back. He'd spent a week out there at Knott's Berry Farm, and he had a wonderful time, and he just enjoyed himself so, and he was talking about it, and Ron goes to bed with my uncle. They slept together, them two, in this
They
house.
slept in the same bed, is what it means.
Because Grandma had been gone for a few years. She died, and they was just living together. And when my uncle woke up the next morning, Grandpa was stiff as a board.
Well, he had his last hurrah, his big excitement.
Yep.
But let that be a lesson to you. Don't go to California.
But on the other hand, my dad died of lung cancer at 62 years old,
Tuber
and
cancer.
he never smoked.
Yeah, well, that can happen. Yeah. And sadly, I never got a chance to know him because I was only 2 when he passed away. So I only know him in pictures and what I've researched about
bad
him.
you got to know him a
I
little
think I
better.
was about
You got to know
30.
my dad a little better.
Yeah, your dad passed away when I was about 11, I think, somewhere around that age. Because I remember being at the funeral and all that stuff. But anyway, I don't want to end this on a sad, depressing note about people passing away. So here we are celebrating. Now we already enjoyed some food and some snacks. We've got more food and snacks to enjoy. I was specifically requested to make my goulash. Thanks, Mom.
Yep.
I enjoy making it. Unfortunately, I only know how to make it one way, and that's in a big crock pot, and there's only the 3 of us. So someone's going to be taking a lot of leftovers home.
But it's good.
Yeah, it was.
But anyway, so we're going to get back to enjoying our Christmas festivities, but I could not pass up the opportunity to do one of these little videos and talk about these Christmas memories with these 2 absolutely wonderful dear people with their really interesting memories about Christmas stuff too, as we talk about and celebrate the little Christmas tree that could.
Yep. That should.
Yeah. And
We've had some pretty good times, and there have been some rough times too. But as a rule, we just kind of let the Lord take care of it. And He got us through it.
And that is a really good approach.
Mm-hmm.
So before we go, even though, Dad, I know you hate this because you hate the 2 things being connected, but since I'm not going to do another video tomorrow is my dad's birthday, 85 years old. We talked about that already, mentioned that already. So I want everybody to join me. I'm gonna be listening to hear you. Okay, I want you to join me. We're gonna sing Happy Birthday to my dad. You ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Dad. Happy birthday to you. Woo-hoo! Oh, that was excellent singing. Good job. Well, not you. You were flat. Next time, do better. All right.
Happy New Year.
Here we go. And with that, I'll let you all go, and I'll see you next time from my front porch.